Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I have for you the Try a Chapter book tag. This isn't a traditional tag, this is more like a challenge video, a concept. The way that it works is that you pick a handful of books, around 5, and you read only the first chapter, and then you come back and give your opinions on that first chapter, including whether or not you are likely to read the book. I have decided to test the waters of young adult and try to get a little bit more into it, not so that I can be like everybody else, but so that I can become a more well-rounded reader. So this is my YA version of the Try a Chapter tag. So the 5 books that I've chosen for you are Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, Flame in the Mist by Renee Ahdieh, Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, Geeker Ella by Ashley Poston, and Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. So I've already read the first chapters, and I'm going to talk about them in the order from my least likely to read to my most likely to read. So first we have Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. And the likelihood that I will read this book, probably about 12%. And I know that it's extremely popular around BookTube, and I guess I can kind of see why. It does seem to have a cute premise to it, but I had some problems with the first chapter. First problem is the first chapter is very brief. The first chapter may not be very representative of the rest of the novel, but that in itself is a problem. If the first chapter doesn't set the tone and the stage well enough, then I don't think it's written very well. Please don't crucify me if you disagree. Please be nice if you disagree. Anna is kind of annoying to me. The book starts out and she seems very critical of her parents, and she seems like she has a very bad attitude. And I think that's sort of a cliche of teenage characters, that of course they have bad attitudes or they're misunderstood. Anna herself doesn't seem very groundbreaking to me. Secondly, by the end of the first chapter, Anna is like, no, don't leave me, Mom and Dad. She wanted to be extremely critical of her parent, and now all she wants to do is be home. The girl is in Paris, and basically I felt like, okay, if you didn't like home life, or if you don't like your parents, I mean, your parents have taken you to Paris. Cutting to the chase is that the first chapter of Anna and the French Kiss does not leave me wanting more. And I think the main reason for that is that I don't know what this girl's journey is. What we have is a moody teenager who's taken to France and doesn't want to be there. That's not exciting. I don't know what about Anna's story is important enough to read, important enough to care about. I'm a never say never kind of person, but at 12% likelihood to actually read this book, I wouldn't hold my breath. Next we have The Flame in the Mist by Renee Ahdieh. I anticipated or predicted a 45% chance of me reading this book, which is much, much better than Anna and the French Kiss, but it's still not great. I'm still not over half. First things first, I mean, the cover of Flame in the Mist is absolutely gorgeous. Secondly, Renee Ahdieh has the most amazing name in the book world. I think it's the coolest ass name ever. About the book specifically, so I actually read 2 sections of this book. The first, I'm not sure if it was a first chapter or if it was more like a prologue, but I read the scene where the father is basically killed or kills himself because he has committed some shameful wrong, and the child is there to witness it. Okay, so I read that, and then I read the very next section, which I feel like the first was a prologue and the second was chapter 1. So that's what I'm that's what I'm going for. But I don't know that for sure. What I read just confused me. It just I'm like confounded. I think that it sounds like a very beautiful book, and it sounds like a very exciting book. That said, it also sounded a little depressing. Not gonna lie. So I don't have any blatant reason why I'm unsure about this book, other than I don't know if the content is for me. I don't know if I would enjoy it, even if I could recognize that it was the most stunning piece of literary work that had been released this century. I still don't know if it's my taste. I didn't get a good enough sense that I would enjoy the content of the book. I do feel like I would be impressed by the writing and impressed by definitely the Asian influence and elements in the book. I just feel like I need to read more to know if it's something that I want to read, that I personally would enjoy. So that's why I'm hovering around 50-50 chance, with a slight dose of skepticism resulting in 45%. The next book that I tried was Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. And I wound up saying that I'm going to say that there's a 57% chance that I will read this book. It's a little bit better than 50-50. If you were expecting a 57% chance of rain, you'd bring your umbrella. Mostly everybody on BookTube is a big fan of Rainbow Rowell. That's probably where the 7% over 50-50 came from. That many people can't be wrong, right? But specifically for Carry On, I thought that it was very funny. I thought that the first chapter was humorous, which obviously I enjoy. But it was the first chapter was vague enough that I have no idea where this is really going. And it was vague enough that I'm intrigued by where it could possibly be going. But at the same time, some of the elements that were introduced in the first chapter kind of make me feel like this story has been told before. They kind of make me feel like this isn't a unique concept. So if you've read this book, please let me know if I'm way off base or if I'm accurate. Not that, even if it is a story that's been told before, I probably haven't read it. So it would be unique to me. But I just got the feeling that it was not groundbreaking. Additionally, I do feel like the first chapter in this book, unlike Anna and the French Kiss, I feel like it does promise excitement. I mean, the elements, the things, the magic, the delinquency. I mean, it's hinted that our main character is some sort of delinquent. It's hinted that our main character struggles with the abilities that he has. It's clear that there is a journey to be had, and it's clear that it will probably be exciting along the way, as well as funny. So I don't know. I mean, it's once I get over 50%, it might be likely. Granted, I have books upon books that would come before it if I do choose to read it, but this one is one that I definitely need some guidance on. Flame in the Mist and Carry On, I'm way on the fence about. So by all means, unload those comments and thoughts and let me know if you think that either one of them is worth my time. All right, you guys can thank Becca over at Books and Looks for this next book, being one that I decided to give a shot. It is Geeker Ella. And I predicted a 70% chance that I'll read this story. Here are the main reasons why. It's a Cinderella retelling, and so there is a certain amount of comfort in knowing kind of the story, especially when you're doing just a try a chapter video. There's a certain amount of relief in actually knowing what one of these books is about. Secondly is that I love the geek part of this Cinderella retelling. I fangirl on some pretty geeky ass stuff. I feel like this is a character that, even though is significantly younger than me, is still someone that I can relate to, especially when I was that age. Geeky things were so important to me, like that certain actor or that certain television show, or I mean, like freaking Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Seriously, I still freak out over Buffy. Like, so I get it. I get what this girl is about. Reading the first chapter, I felt like this book contained the Hilary Duff Cinderella and the Angelica Houston stepmother. I could easily picture those two individuals joining forces for Geeker Ella. My one thing that I don't like or didn't like about chapter 1 is, yeah, I get it. It's Cinderella. We all know the story of Cinderella. Like, Cinderella's stepmother is a huge, but I feel like that's the one thing that's always overdone in Cinderella retellings. Like, we already know it's Cinderella. We already feel, we're already on her side. And I just feel like every time I read or see something about Cinderella, the circumstances of her life are a little exaggerated, like a little overdone. That's what prevented this from being like my most likely book to read. But I do think that overall I would enjoy it. It's a minor thing, but it's still a thing. I'm probably not making any sense at all. Lastly is the book that I am definitely going to read. In fact, it's already sitting in my shopping cart. I put 90% chance that I will read this book. So the 10% that is left over from this book, pretty much because the second one is not available yet. The second book in this series will not be released until September. So I'm not gonna grab this book right now and read it and then have to wait, because I don't know if it ends in a cliffhanger or not, but I am not about a cliffhanger. I am all about some instant gratification. But anyway, Nevernight by J. Kristoff. First of all, classic first line. Like, probably the best first line I've ever read. And I quote, "People often shit themselves when they die." That's hilarious. When you open up a book and that's people often shit themselves when they die, how can you not read on? There's several little back and forth sections in the first chapter of this book between something that we know happened sometime in the past and something that we know is happening now. And the writing in this book is super cool because there's some repetition involved in the past language and the present language. The same descriptions or language, I guess, is used to describe the specific event from the past and the specific event occurring in the present. And it's super cool. It's twisted, it's a little messed up, but it's really cool. And I mean, we're talking about sex and death, and when the same wording is used to describe very different parts of those two themes, but it's just clever. I thought it was clever. I also thought it was very Poe-esque. Something about this writing, and I haven't read Poe in a long time. He is one of my favorites, but it's been a while. But something about this book, this first chapter, really screamed Poe. I've never read J. Kristoff, obviously, so I don't know if that's just my own mind, given it was just my own mind assigning like a familiar writing style to a content. But anyways, so that was a huge attraction point for me as well. Also, this book is kind of startling in the first chapter and shocking in the first chapter. I mean, we jump right in. There's no fluffy once upon a time for this book. It is boom, you're there, this is happening, and you have a feeling it's significant. And I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of shocking. I'm a fan of being thrown off balance as a reader. I don't want to be eased into my books all the time. Sometimes I want to be slapped across the face with the book. And Nevernight slaps you right across the face very, very early. Even in the first sentence, people often shit themselves when they die. Like, you're being slapped upside the face. I know that I've said it before, but I kind of like really flawed protagonists, and protagonists that walk a thin line between right and wrong, and kind of having a really screwed up moral compass. I've talked about it in my Deanna Madden series review, where we have a protagonist that fantasizes about murdering people. You get the impression right away the protagonist in this book or this series is a murderer or an assassin. So I really like it when protagonists do very bad things. I'm totally getting all Freud. But I think it has something to do with psychologically believing that not doing the right thing all of the time, or not doing the good thing all of the time, makes you a bad person. That it's all or nothing. I really hate all or nothing mentalities and statements in this world and beliefs. Like, it is not all or nothing. And really flawed and broken protagonists draw attention to that. You can have a character who does horrific things and is still the person that you're rooting for at the end of the day. But those are the things that I was really attracted to in Nevernight, and the reason that I am going to buy this book and I am going to read it. And I'm pretty excited to do so, actually. There was only one book that probably not a snowball's chance, Anna and the French Kiss. Please give me some guidance on Flame in the Mist by Renee Ahdieh and Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I'm on the fence with those. You all might be able to sway me in one direction or the other, so I'm super excited to hear what you have to say about those. Also, tell me what you think of the ones that I would like to read, Geeker Ella and Nevernight. And maybe I'm misjudging these books, so let's talk about it. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider doing your own try a chapter tag, because I think it's a really great exercise for everyone, especially if we're pushing ourselves to read outside the box and to try things that normally we would scoff at or normally we would never try. Like, I'm all about being brave. Please consider doing this, and please keep your eyes and ears open for my next try a chapter tag, which will feature a different genre. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys very soon.